I say that is the main foundation. So come let us go hand in hand, because this is our land. Come my brother, come my sister, and let us build a nation together. This also goes for every Trinbagonian who want to live in a foreign land. Now is the time to come home and do something, instead of staying out there and freezing. Because now, more than ever, we must show discipline, tolerance, and production to build a strong and better nation. I say that is the main foundation. So
yes, indeed, to build a strong foundation, we must unite as a people. We must remain focused as a people. We must work together to build Grenada, Carriacou, and PT Martinique. This is our home, and we have a duty, not just to ourselves, but our children and children, to make this place better. We know with the passage of Hurricane Beryl, Carriacou, PT Martinique, St. Patrick, and St. Mark were devastated, mainly Carriacou and PT Martinique. And what we have seen in the aftermath, the 10, 11, 12 days after the passage of the hurricane, is the opposition turning this whole thing into a political football match. So you have Keith Mitchell, for example, trying to take credit for Grenada receiving a payout from CCRIF. And one wonders, but why? Why you're trying to take credit for it? Because Grenada signed on to that policy under the NNP. Then the NDC came into power in 2008. The NDC continued to pay, and the NNP came back into power in 2013, and they continue to pay. The NNP won again in 2018, and they continue to pay. The NDC came into power in 2022, and they continue to pay the policy, renew the policy, pay the policy. In fact, this NDC included or added Grenlec and Nawasa as part of the policy. So added them so that they can be covered, so that they can get coverage. So I am asking myself why Keith Mitchell wants to take credit and the NNP wants to take credit for Grenada receiving a payout as triggered by the state through CCRIF. Why you want to take credit for that? 16 countries, 16 are a part of this insurance with the help of the World Bank, the European Union, and some other international bodies, the UN and who. They were able to come up with this whole insurance company, and but I am simply saying, why try to take credit? This is not about taking credit, because Uncle Tilly could take credit too. Keith Mitchell, if you want credit, you take credit, but Uncle Tilly could take credit too. The most honorable Deacon Mitchell could take credit too. Because government is a continuum. If when NNP entered into the agreement, right, and NDC came into power in 2008, because I think they signed on to CRIF in 2007. So if NDC, when they came into power in 2008, decided not to pay, to renege on the policy, what would have happened? I'm asking, what would have happened? And then NNP came back into power. If they decided not to pay, what would have happened? And then NDC came back into power and they decided not to pay, what would have happened? Not only that, NDC added Grenlec and Nawasa to CRIF so that they can be covered. So you have the NNP out there trying to take credit. Keith Mitchell on his Facebook page posting all kind of stuff. And you have to, for a moment, just think. One, government is a continuum. You continue to govern. Yes, your party is out of power, but another party will form the government and continue. What is wrong with that? But you know what is amazing? He wants to take credit for CRIF. All right? And I explained to you that the most honorable Deacon Mitchell added Grenlec to CRIF and added Nawasa to CRIF. That is why Nawasa was able to get that amount of payout and Grenlec was able to get that amount of payout. But let me just play a little piece of the whole thing here, and then we're going to continue the conversation.
Has received substantial financial relief following the impact of Hurricane Beryl. The Caribbean Catastrophe Risk Insurance Facility, CRIF, will provide payouts totaling approximately US $44 million or EC $118 million to the Grenada government. This marks the largest payout ever issued by CRIF, as confirmed by Isaac Anthony, the organization's chief executive officer.
The government, it covers three policies, and the first set of policies of CRIF SPC to the government, and this in fact will be the first set of payouts that the government would be receiving. The $42.4 million for its tropical cyclone represents the single largest individual payouts to a member of CRIF in the history of this facility. Of course, the previous one was an amount of $40 million received by the government of Haiti following the earthquake event in 2020.
Anthony further noted that Grenada's primary utility companies will also receive significant payouts, a first-time occurrence under the CRIF.
A payout by CRIF to other entities in the country. So we have Grenlec, your electric utilities, will be in receipt of $9.3 million under its electric utility product. And we also have a payout to Nawasa, which is your water utilities, in the amount of $2.2 million, again for its water utility policy. The payout to Grenlec is the first such payout to an electric utility in the region. Similarly, the payout to Nawasa is the first payout to a water utility in the Caribbean. The total payouts to Grenada as a country, taking both the government policies as well as the policies to the public utilities, amounts to 55.5 million United States dollars.
He emphasized that Hurricane Beryl triggered all parametric insurance policies that covered Grenada.
It is important to note that Grenada is the only country in the CRIF membership that has availed itself of every single parametric insurance policy on offer by CRIF. And every single policy triggered a payout as a result of Tropical Cyclone Beryl.
These payouts represent Grenada's first payouts from CRIF. The CRIF is expected to make 10 Hurricane Beryl-related payouts totaling over US $75 million in the next few days, thereby taking its total payouts to approximately $350 million US dollars.
Right, and of course that would include the other islands. But I am saying here, it is important that you understand what is happening. Keith Mitchell is trying to take credit for the payout, for CRIF, for the insurance coverage, because he's claiming that under his administration, Grenada entered into that agreement with CRIF, that insurance company or facility. That is what he's claiming. But it's 16 or so countries or islands that actually entered. Not just Grenada, 16. And it was really something that the World Bank encouraged all the islands to enter into, because we are prone to disasters and so on. Right? But let's again speak to that, looking at the renewal, because under the NDC, they renewed the policy.
It has renewed its insurance policies with the Caribbean Catastrophic Risk Insurance Facility Segregated Portfolio Company CCRIF SPC ahead of the 2023 hurricane season. CCRIF SPC, which provides a parametric insurance coverage against natural hazards such as hurricanes and earthquakes, has been operating since 2007, with Grenada being a founding member. Grenada currently holds 4 policies: tropical cyclone, excess rainfall, earthquake, and Caribbean Ocean and Aquaculture Sustainability Facility, or COAST. The tropical cyclone, excess rainfall, and earthquake policies will ensure a financial payout to government to aid in the recovery process should Grenada experience an event severe enough to trigger the policy, according to CCRIF SPC's models. In the case of the coast policy, coverage is provided to fisherfolk against losses due to bad weather and direct damage to fishing vessels, equipment, and infrastructure caused by tropical cyclones, wind, and storm surge. The coast provides livelihoods protection, payments directly to fisherfolk if the policy is triggered. The policies expired on May 31st, and the government elected to renew coverage effective June 1st, 2023 for 1 year, with gross premiums amounting to US $1.5 million. Through support from the European Union, the World Bank, and CCRIF SPC, Grenada was able to secure discounts of its tropical cyclone and excess rainfall policies, resulting in total net premiums of US $1.2 million. With this policy renewal, Grenada can receive a maximum payout of US $42.3 million in the event of a tropical cyclone severe enough to trigger the policy. Maximum payouts for excess rainfall and earthquake events are US $4.4 million and US $4.1 million respectively, while total coast payouts can reach US $1 million. Other mechanisms, such as the Catastrophe Deferred Drawdown Option (CAT-DDO) and the Contingency Fund, financed through CBI, receipts are additional disaster risk financing options available to government to respond in the event of a natural disaster.
Right. So you get a sense as to what happened. The NDC, because they are in government with the visionary leadership that we have, we saw the government renewing the policy. You see, the NNP is giving people the impression that it is something that you sign on to and you don't have to pay on an annual basis. You don't have to renew it. But people know what insurance is. You have to pay every year a certain amount. So this insurance in particular, it's an annual thing. You have to pay before the hurricane season, you have to pay up. If you don't renew it, then you're not covered. So that is very important. So Keith Mitchell wants to take credit for CRIF, Grenada signing on to CRIF, this insurance policy. But he is not explaining to you it is a policy that must be paid every year. So NNP in power, NDC in power, if they fail to pay, then we will not get a payout if there is a disaster. So it is because the NNP entered that policy, right, in 2007, and then Tillman Thomas, NDC, continued to pay, and then the NNP came back into power and they continue to pay, and the NDC, this NDC, came into power and they did not just continue to pay, but they added Grenlec and Nawasa to the whole policy so that they too will be covered. That's important. Very, very important. Because Nawasa and Grenlec was not a part of this. It took the visionary leadership of the most honorable Deacon Mitchell to add Grenlec and to add Nawasa. So now Nawasa got 2.2 million US payout. Grenlec got 9.3 million US payout. And Grenada, the government of Grenada, got 44 point something million, totaling some 55.5 million US for Grenada. But I'm saying they are not explaining the thing to you because Keith Mitchell wants to look good, and those NNP pundits on their platforms, they want NNP to look good. They want people to believe that it's the NNP who did that, and that's not the case.
To see if its up-to-date status with the Caribbean Catastrophe Risk Insurance Facility will result in some form of payment following the passage of a freak storm last weekend that resulted in property damage. Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell, addressing the media on Wednesday, said Grenada is among regional countries that have renewed their parametric insurance coverage for tropical cyclones, excess rainfall and earthquakes, and the fisheries sector for the policy year 2022 to 2023, which began on June 1st, 2022.
In fact, just before coming to this press briefing, the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Finance and I was discussing this very issue, and he raised the point that Grenada, unfortunately, has never benefited from being paid out under the catastrophic risk insurance. And I indicated to him, well, now that we've had the bad weather, we have to look at whether or not we qualify or not. But we are part of the process, and we've been part of that scheme for quite a while.
Prime Minister Mitchell said they are awaiting the arrival of the CCRIF Chief Executive Officer, Isaac Anthony, in the coming weeks for further discussions on the catastrophe risk insurance. However, not only will Grenada seek to collect fruits from its investment, but it's looking to add the country's lone electricity company for coverage under the insurance facility.
Specifically, we are looking to explore Grenlec taking up insurance in relation to that. The public may or may not be aware that currently Grenlec is self-insured because private insurers traditionally have not been prepared to cover the transmission and distribution aspect of Grenlec's operations, which are the poles and lines, which are obviously absolutely essential to ensuring that electricity is delivered to consumers.
Prime Minister Mitchell spoke about the importance of having insurance coverage as seen by Grenlec following the passage of Hurricane Ivan in 2004.
Since 1994, Grenlec has had to put aside approximately $2 million each year to fund what is called the Hurricane Fund. And that is the fund that Grenlec used after Hurricane Ivan in 2004 to be able to rebuild the transmission and distribution system. Grenlec has not been part of the catastrophic risk insurance. Now that that insurance is available and specifically is available to cover transmission and distribution lines, we obviously want to explore that possibility. Our colleague company in St. Lucia is part of that, and so that is something we are looking to explore as well.
According to the CCRIF's website, member governments purchased $1.2 billion in coverage for catastrophe risk insurance for 2022 to 2023 against climate-related and seismic hazards, an increase of 10% over the previous year.
Yes, so I hope you get in the picture, because I wanted to explain this to you by putting the evidence on the table. Because people like Jenny Simon, she doesn't understand this thing at all. Some source feeding her with information and she's talking rubbish. She spoke today on her program about, the government triggered the policy, and she used words to the effect, well, God help us if we were to be struck by another hurricane or something of that sort. Not understanding that the policy is triggered for every peril, right? So every disaster, every event. So if there is another hurricane that affects Grenada, it can be triggered again because it's a policy that you're paying. You continue paying. So it's like if you have a vehicle and you're paying the insurance for the vehicle, even if you bounce today, they have to cover it. And if you bounce 2 months from now, they still have to cover it, right? You may have to pay more in terms of the policy, but at the end of the day, I'm only looking at the insurance for vehicles as a common thing. That is what it is. It's not a one-off for the season or the year. No. So, but she's speaking to people who she believes has no sense. But joke you're making, people have sense, and they're analyzing the nonsense that she's saying. In fact, she spoke so bad about P.T. Martinique as though P.T. Martinique no longer exists. And one wonders, what is the intention of these people? What are their objectives? What they're trying to achieve? To paint such a bad picture that things are so bad in P.T. Martinique that, what is the whole idea behind them doing all of this? The NNP in particular, and some of the opposition surrogates and pundits and so on. Because it is clear that government is a continuum. The NNP entered into this insurance coverage. Remember, Keith Mitchell experienced Hurricane Ivan and Emily. So you telling me that he should not have entered into this whole insurance policy for Grenada? I'm asking myself, you don't think it was his responsibility to do that? Having experienced Hurricane Ivan and Emily? And not only that, the World Bank and the EU, they actually attach that to the funding for small islands, to say to them, we want you to sign on to this because every time there's a disaster, we have to come and give you all the money. But if you sign on to it, then you will be covered and you will get a portion of money from that facility. That is what the thing is, you know. So Keith Mitchell now trying to take credit for signing on to CCRIF. It's a big joke because the most honorable Deacon Mitchell is not trying to take credit for making sure that Grenlec signed on to CCRIF and they got their payout, and making sure that Nawasa signs on to CCRIF and they got their payout too. He's not beating his chest and say, well, I'm the one who did it. I'm the one who did it. No. But the NNP, they want to be so relevant. And they want their people to believe that, you know, this is something unique and special. And this is the guy who did it. But they are not telling you that 16 other islands sign on to this thing. 16 other islands. This is not a Keith Mitchell thing or an NNP thing. This is bigger than Keith Mitchell and the NNP. It's something that was mandated by the World Bank and the EU to all these islands. So don't make them make you believe that it's something special they did. No. And hear this. It is an insurance policy. It is something that must be paid for every year. You have to renew it by paying up. So Keith Mitchell and the NNP administration signed on to it. Then the following year, the NDC came into power in 2008. The following year. So the NNP only entered into it for a 1-year period. Then the NDC of Tillman Thomas came into power. And they stayed in power for about 5 years. Well, you know, 5 years and some. And they too paid every year. They paid every year. They paid CCRIF, and it was renewed every year. And NNP came back into power in 2013, and they continued to pay every year. The most honorable Deacon Mitchell came into power, and he continued to pay, but he added Grenlec and Nawasa as part of the coverage, as part of that insurance, insuring Grenlec and Nawasa. That's what it is. But why you're out there trying to take credit for what? You should be happy. Happy that Grenada got a payout and it would ease up the burden on the government and on the people. So what is the biggie? Right? But then you have the surrogates on different programs pushing certain narratives, saying certain things. But I am saying, well, Keith Mitchell, you want to take credit for Grenada signing on to CCRIF and getting this payout. Why are you not taking credit for the shrimp farm fiasco where Grenada lost under the NNP administration, under the Keith Mitchell-led administration? $54.2 million. Why are you not taking credit for that too? Or because it's bad, it's not good, so you're not taking credit for that. You say it's not you, although it happened under the Keith Mitchell-led administration, under the NNP administration. $54.2 million. So you want to take credit for CCRIF and Grenada signing on to that insurance company or coverage and getting that payout. Why are you not taking credit for the call center fiasco where Grenada lost $22.5 million in a company involving Keith Mitchell's cousin. And Keith Mitchell was prime minister at the time, and the company approached the Keith Mitchell-led administration for assistance. They did not go to a bank for a loan, but the government at the time, the NNP administration, gave them $9 million in loan and gave them $9 million as a guarantee, sign on to a guarantee of $9 million. And the proceeds from the sale of the shares at Cable and Wireless, $4.5 million, that too went to pay the debt of that company instead of going into the consolidated fund. So $22.5 million just vanished just like that. And the company went bankrupt. Why are you not taking credit for that? Because it's not a good thing. You want to take credit for CRIF and government signing on to CRIF, this insurance mechanism. You're not taking credit for anything bad. Why are you not taking credit for Rick Scarlton, EJ, or Ekram J. Miller at Mount Hartman under the NNP administration? Ekram J. Miller, a white man with a blue eye or blue eyes, came into Grenada and tricked the Keith Mitchell-led administration. And they gave him a guarantee worth $20-something million with the International Bank of Miami, either the International Bank of Miami or the Frostis Bank of Belgium, because the Livera was one. Either the International Bank of Miami was Livera, and Mount Hartman, E.J. Miller, was the Frostis Bank of Belgium. But anyways, they got a guarantee. He got a guarantee. If you don't pay that money, the government and people of Grenada will pay. You know what the man did? The man take the damn money and he go on a yacht, he and his family, and just spend it out, Not setting up a pillar, not building like a kitchen. There, we lost $28 or $29 million from that fiasco, under the NNP administration. So they're not taking credit for that. No, they don't want to take credit for that, period, because it's bad. But it happened under their watch, under the NNP administration watch. You hear me? So you want to take credit for CRIF and government signing on to this insurance policy or mechanism, and we getting a payout now because of the passage of Hurricane Beryl and the devastation caused. Why are you not taking credit for Cap Bank? Thousands of ordinary Grenadians lost their money in Cap Bank, not the Grenada Cooperative Bank. Cap Bank with Fintan DeBog. The Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, the late Sir Dwight Venner, warned the Keith Mitchell-led administration, do not give Fintan DeBog any license to operate any bank in Grenada. He does not qualify. He don't have what it takes. They still went ahead. The Keith Mitchell-led administration still went ahead and granted this guy a license to open a bank in Grenada called Cap Bank. He started opening all liquor bank all around the place, branches left, right, and center. And a lot of poor people lost their money in that. But hear this. You know what happened eventually? Do you know that the Keith Mitchell-led administration had the balls to take taxpayers' money, The bank was a private thing, Take taxpayers' money and pay out the people who had $500 and less in the bank. Taxpayers' money, After the Keith Mitchell-led administration do all this stupidness they did not listen to Sir Dwight Venner, the governor of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank at the time. He passed away. May his soul rest in peace. They decided to do that. So people with accounts in Cap Bank, right, decided, well, boy, if I have $600, I lose my money. $1,000, I lose my money. The guy with $1 million, and we can go on and on. But they took taxpayers' money, after they mess up, what millions of dollars to pay people with $500 and less. You're not taking credit for that, though. Huh? No, you're not taking credit for that. Because it's not sexy, it's not nice. The stadium again, we were told that the stadium, the first stadium, was insured. We were told that taxpayers, didn't have to pay a cent because this thing is free. We were giving it free by Taiwan and who. Well, here it is. When Ivan came, he mashed up the stadium. We later learned that the materials that they used was substandard. You hear me? It was not the right material. The materials that they used were substandard. We later learned also that the government, the NNP administration, took out 2 loans with the Exim Bank of Taiwan. At the time, we had diplomatic ties with Taiwan. And the loans amounted to about $55 million. But here it is. The stadium was not insured. So we had to pay back that money. You remember when Taiwan made moves to seize the asset of the Airports Authority, the Ports Authority, and I think there was another one. Airport, Port, Nawasa, I think Nawasa was under it. Nawasa and something else. They made moves to seize the assets of those companies, state-owned companies. Because of that, So you had to pay back that $50-something million because the stadium was not insured. So why are you not taking credit for that too? You want to take credit. Why are you not taking credit for that? You had the fall farm. Besides the shrimp farm in Victoria, you had the fall farm in Victoria, We did not get one chicken, neither egg. We did not get a piece of back neck, or a piece of neck, or a piece of fin. Nothing. But $18 or so million just vanish. You hear me? The ghost chicken farm in Victoria under the NNP administration. You're not taking credit for that too, though. No, you ain't taking credit for that. The Livera Hotel Development Project. Remember that project? Where we were promised Gulf Coast, land and sea recreational facilities, and we can just go on and on and on and on. Right? Them blue-eye white people come and they con the NNP administration. They con the Keith Mitchell-led administration, taking millions and millions and millions of dollars. They run away with it and had a ball of a time. Nothing happened there. You're not taking credit for that, though. Huh? Nah, you're not taking credit for that. Well, you're quick to. You want to take credit for CCRIF and the fact that the country signed on to it and you were in government, so you sign on to it. But it is a policy. Every year it has to be renewed. Every year. So any government that comes into power and fails to pay, then our policy will lapse. We will not be covered. So let's thank all the administrations for making sure that the policy is paid. And let's thank the NDC of the Most Honorable Deacon Mitchell for seeing the vision to add Green Lake and to add Nawasa to the list so that they can be covered, so that coverage can be had. We see the fruits of that to date. So I thought it was important for me to share that with you, because those NNP pundits, they're out there trying to make Keith Mitchell look good. But here it is. They're attacking Deacon. They're attacking the NDC. They're attacking the NDC administration. It's what they're saying. It's what they're saying about this government. And you know what's sickening, what is sad, is the fact that this administration's response to the before, during, and after Hurricane Beryl, right? The actions and so on before, during, and after the hurricane is being praised regionally and internationally. That is what is sad, because the NNP goons, zygotes, and sycophants, they are bad-mouthing government, they are attacking government, they condemning, they criticizing, they negative like. But regionally and internationally, the government is being praised for the level of response and the way of the way they've conducted business so far. The team, the work that they have done. And you know what is demotivating? These same people who are condemning, criticizing, saying all manner of bad things about the government and the country and so on. You know, they want to come back and run Grenada. They want to get back into power, They want to come back into power. So the same country you run down and you talk bad about, you still want to come and ride the chest, ride the back, You still want to govern, you still want to come and rule it. It's like a man bad-mouthing a woman, saying all kind of things about a woman, right? She this, she that, she body this, she that. And then you still going back in the night and, you understand, lick up your vomit, regurgitation. That's what it is. That is exactly how they're conducting themselves. And everything for the NNP's controversy, confrontation, bacchanal, melee. That's all they're good for. Keith Mitchell has $19 million. You hear he name calling in anything regarding giving a certain amount to Carriacou or to Petit Martinique or to St. Patrick or to St. Mark, where he lives. You hear anything regarding that? You have businesses making hampers, mobilizing, putting together non-perishable food items and, generators and what. We can go on and on. Mobilizing resources for the people of Carriacou and Petit Martinique. You have churches, church-based organizations doing the same thing, volunteering, mobilizing resources. You have governments within the region doing the same thing. You have citizens in the diaspora and here in Grenada doing the same thing. You hear Keith Mitchell name calling anything regarding mobilizing resources or spending some money out of the millions that he has towards anything? You heard his name called so far? You see, sometimes we have to just quit listening to the noise and start listening to substance, right? Differentiate substance from old talk, brango, hot air. Think about it. Keith Mitchell has $19 million. Hurricane Beryl devastated and in some instances obliterated the housing stock and so on of Carriacou and Petit Martinique. Wipe it out totally. People lost their livelihoods, and we can go on and on. St. Patrick, St. Mark, we saw something similar, right? But have you heard of Keith Mitchell donating, giving anything towards this cause to help these people? No, he will not do so. In fact, I said to a friend many years ago, I went to a shop and there was a certain prime minister. He loves to drink Heineken. You know, when the man got into the shop, the people, the poor people, went and buy Heineken for him, you know. Yes, and he drank that. He would not spend his money. No. I remember going into a function and a certain prime minister who loves to drink yellowtail wine. They had to go and buy it for him. He's not going to take his money and buy it. That is the nature of the beast that we are dealing with. And then you listen to his surrogates, pundits, goons, and zygotes, sycophants, mouthpieces, supporters. You listen to them and you ask them. But the man came in St. Patrick, right? I think I have a little video here, somewhere around the place here, right? Let me look for it. The man came in St. Patrick, all right? And just after the passage of Hurricane Beryl, he was hugging and embracing, and but what did he visit or visited that parish with? What did he bring to these people? What did they get from him? That's the question, you know. That's the question. So you went to St. Patrick, you went to St. Mark, and you brought nothing for these people who needed something, right? You brought nothing for them. Have it somewhere, you know, somewhere around the place here, right? And one wonders, because it is clear that it is playing political games and gimmick and tricks. A hurricane just devastated these people, you know. Look, listen.
Just sitting down. We on the move. Nobody else.
Yeah, you see? Hold on. Trying to get this. All right, so I got that. Let me get it. So in his hand, he had the Glenelg water in his hand. All right.
Just sitting down. We on the move. Nobody else.
Yeah. And this woman, poor woman, he goes there with a bottle of water for himself, not for them. He's not bringing anything for these people. But after he will condemn the government, he will say all manner of things about the government.
One bus. One man in the place. One
Yes. So that's Keith Mitchell. So in this piece there, he had a red glass. I don't know what he had in the glass, but he's not bringing anything for these people. He's not assisting these people tangibly. He's not assisting them. No, but that's him. That's it, the nature of him, the individual. So I am not surprised. But the NNP is out there condemning, criticizing the government. But I am saying, I'm asking, but what has Keith Mitchell, the $19 million man, what has he done for you to help you in this crisis? I am asking a very simple question. What has he done to help you in this crisis? We have seen what this government has done during this crisis. We have seen what ordinary people like this young lady, for example,
7,765 Eastern Caribbean dollars you donated to Carriacou after Hurricane Beryl. We topped up on sanitary products, canned food and light snacks. You'll also be happy to know that in true Caribbean spirit, so many Grenadians are pulling together on the island to do these massive shops and help neighbours in northern Grenada as well as Carriacou. This shop totaled to 3,492 EC. The next stop was Spiceland Mall, where we topped up on water, milk and more tinned food. This shop totaled to 3,424 EC. My kind friend Jamal provided an extra car to help us drive all the essentials to the National Disaster Management Agency. The way that the community has pulled together in Grenada is truly inspiring. Each day I've been to NADMA, it has been filled with volunteers as well as Girl Guides and Scouts. They also assured me that food and essentials are now being shipped every day to those that need it the most. As I need to return to the UK and there is still money left from your continuous donations that evening, I will now be donating the rest of this money to Grenada's National Relief Fund on the government's official website. So thank you everyone for your support and encouragement. Together we managed to raise over 13,000 EC for Carriacou after Hurricane Beryl.
yes. So this young lady, she's not talking, ordinary citizen, pulling together, helping, bringing to the people of Carriacou and PT Martinique. And I asked the question, what has this guy, Keith Mitchell, and his supporters, what have they done? What have they brought to the table? Yes, they talk about a hot meal. Okay, all right. Where are you with that? They talk about portable toilets. Okay, where are you with that? It's all political grandstanding, all trickery. But this guy, this young man, volunteered.
I'm from Thebaites and David. I wasn't really called in to volunteer. It's something that's always been kind of like a part of me. Even when I was like 6 years and Ivan Pass, I have memories of helping joke boxes and so on like that. So especially knowing that our sister island was very damaged, myself having family and so on over there, I don't think my conscience would have allowed me to, stay home knowing that persons need help and there's a lot of things that I could personally do. So all of that was just some of the reasons why I decided to, come down to NADMA and give any assistance possible. My appeal, my call to persons, even though you may not be personally affected, you may not even know the persons that were affected or damaged by, Hurricane Beryl in this case, it's still a good idea to come out and help, give your support, because today might be them, tomorrow might be me, tomorrow might be you. So because of that, anything possible, even if it's just donating something, if you can't physically come down, but volunteering should always be part of all of us.
Yes, and that is important. This young man volunteering. I am saying, what has Keith Mitchell and the NNP done? And Keith Mitchell in particular, you have in all the millions and millions. You just talk. And then they have the NNP surrogates and pundits and so on out there attacking the government. You have people coming from outside, like the Defense Force of Guyana and the business community, to give.
Has once again come to Grenada's aid, this time in a collaborative effort with the Private Sector Commission of Guyana. Together, they have donated over $700,000 worth of relief supplies and building materials. On Sunday, July 14th, Prime Minister Mitchell and other members of his cabinet, along with Executive Director of the Grenada Chamber of Industry and Commerce, Pettifer Lewis, received the aid from Chair of the Guyana Private Sector Commission, Mr. Komal Singh, at the Tiro Bay Port. Mr. Singh, in speaking with the GIS, says the Private Sector Commission and the Government of Guyana will continue to monitor and work closely with Grenada to help bring the people of Carriacou and PT Martinique back to normalcy. He says despite the level of devastation, life will get better with the assistance of friendly governments and the will of the people.
We have sent one vessel last Sunday to St. Vincent, and this one is here today, bringing various amount of cargo, different type of cargo. On this vessel have lots of roofing material to help bring back some of these families, with a shelter over their head. I was in Grenada, and my, PM asked me to accompany him to receive this vessel, and I take the honor of coming here to see and get a direct feeling on the ground what has happened to this little island of Carriacou. What we have seen on camera and what I'm seeing here now is very devastating. The entire island, is pretty much in shambles. It's mashed up. The communities, I can imagine, how desperate they are right now for immediate help to bring back shelter over their head, to bring back electricity, water, basic necessity. And we from Guyana and the government and the private sector, we are very, very encouraged seeing the amounts of effort that is being put to help return back this island to normalcy. The private sector and the government of Guyana will continue to help support. The government of Guyana, I think only this morning, sent an additional set of construction workers from the army to help in the rebuilding effort of the island. And we will continue to work closely with Grenada to see how much more we can help to bring the people back to normalcy.
Prime Minister Honorable Deacon Mitchell says the relief aid from Guyana shows how strong the region can be through collaboration.
Well, I think it's, it's what's keeping us buoyant and going despite the challenging times. The support from CARICOM member states has been overwhelming, has been tremendous, and we continue to benefit from this. This is probably the single largest physical donation of relief items and restoration items. It ranges from, as you can see, water tanks to dry goods, cassava, potatoes, LPG gas, building materials, lumber, zinc sheets, generators, 19-page manifests. So it's a lot of supplies, not just for immediate relief, but also to help with some of the temporary restoration work.
The government, he says, already has a plan on how to tackle the restoration and rebuilding efforts with the assistance of the Artisan Squad from the Guyanese Defense Force.
The intention is to tackle some of the large government buildings to try and make sure that we can at least put them in a state where they can be used, even if it's temporarily, because there are a number of things we have to factor in. Obviously, the continued sheltering of people. If we get any adverse weather or so, we need to be able to house people still.
Right. So again, you see, regional governments, they are playing their part. You saw the Cayman Islands. When they came here with a full contingent, full contingent with opposition and other people included with that flight. They did not leave out anybody. But here in Grenada, you have an opposition who hell-bent on misinforming the people, lying, saying all manner of things. It's just sickening. Sickening to say the least. But I am not surprised. They are accustomed to that. They cannot change. And don't expect them to change. So folks, we have to remain focused and understand that this mission requires all hands on deck. It's not time to play politics. It's time to work to rebuild this place better than before. So I want to wish you all the best. I know my good partner, Pumpkin from Mount Airy, told me that he has a little business starting tomorrow, the 19th, the grand opening of Kayak, Sip, and Chat restaurant and bar. Come celebrate with us on our grand opening at Lagoon Road, Grenada. All right? Reserve your seats and so on there to Bonis and Catherine. The number is 417-7037. 417-7037. Yeah, that's Pumpkin. You're invited to a grand opening of Kayak, Sip, and Chat restaurant and bar. Bonis and Catherine, number 417-7037. So if you want to be a part of the opening tomorrow, you have to call that number. It's Lagoon Road, all right? Lagoon Road there. Just after MTV, somewhere around there. MTV, somewhere around that area there. So I want to wish you all the best. Take good care. My good friend Kim the King, he was on today. That's really good. And he's just trying to get back in groove. We have not gotten the new equipment as yet. We ordered it. We have not gotten it yet. So when that comes, everything will be A-OK. All right? Everything will be A-OK. Quality, you'll hear us better, and you'll hear us in many more places. All right? When it comes. very soon, and by next week, into the other week, we should be all up and running in full. So far, so good. All right. Remember, thanks to you, the people who listen to me on this program, we were able to raise $40,000 just so within 2 days or so. All right. So I want to thank you sincerely for doing that. All right. That's really, really good. Thank you very much. So I want to wish you all the best. Take good care. Have a wonderful night. And I will be back with you tomorrow, God's willing, starting from 8 in the a.m. to continue that journey, because we must do so. There are humping opposition programs out there spreading misinformation, seeking to confuse the minds of our people and, trying to score political points, but they're not